Good morning. I got to get back to my screen. Um, Man, got to do better with my introductions because I was just I don't know. I was trying to set something up and it didn't work out. So now I need to go hit a button. So I'll be back. Okay, that was officially the worst start ever for one of my streams. Um, but how are you today? How's it going? Um, Gosh, I got to do better. I got to do better in the beginning. But I had a bunch of stuff to go over today. I'm trying to get comfortable. Uh, we we in our YouTube fund, we had about a month ago. We had our 50th subscriber special, and it was great. What was happening is we have 49 subscribers. We'd get one subscriber to 50, and then it would go down to 48, and then it would go back up to 50, and then it would go back down to 47. I don't know. If you spend all your time studying the YouTube stats, you're going to go crazy. And it made me crazy. For the past month, I've been unhealthily staring at my statistics every day. And when a show does well, I mean, we're a small channel. So when a show does well, I might get 10 views on a video I put out. And I love YouTube. I love people around YouTube and the information they give. And let's go over that since we've got time. One, they say you have to have a thumbnail that really makes people want to click on it. Okay. And then two, you want to have a title that's like clickbait. It can't be blatantly clickbait, but it's got to be close because that's the only two things you have for someone to come and see your video. So here it is. I'm a 44-year-old real estate broker, and I'm reading these, ways to show more videos on YouTube, and so I'm designing these thumbnails and this clickbait, and I mean. When there's no one watching your video, it doesn't matter what the clickbait title is, and it doesn't matter what the thumbnail title is, because no one's watching. There's no one there. So, yeah. So my experience with YouTube has been fun. Yesterday, I've been just down. I mean, what do you mean nobody wants to hear about real estate every day? But I've just been like, my channel was doing so well and it just collapsed. And here's a couple ways that it collapsed in a row. One, I ran afoul of the YouTube community guidelines, but I really didn't. I got a warning, but as soon as I got that warning, the views on my channel went to like nothing. I mean, it just went like, and it's all been resolved. There's no issue. I have no warning on the channel right now, but just that one act caused all kinds of havoc, I guess, with the algorithm and where I'm going to be seen. And then, have you ever created something only to have no one watch it? Like, have you ever spent like 2 or 3 hours on something and no one cares? Well, do that 50 times. Do that 100 times and see what happens. See how your mental stability is when you're working, you're producing something, and yet no one cares. And that's how I found myself. So I mean, you go through these. I don't know how to explain it. You go through these machinations. Uh, like, what am I doing wrong? You know, is there anything I can do better? Uh, you know, how is this happening? Like, how's this going wrong? And it's tough because, again, we're talking about maybe 4 people watching your video. You can have the best video ever made, and you still only got 4 people watching it. So there's a scale issue. So I have to tell myself, hey, maybe the show was not great, or maybe the show was great, but there's only 4 people around right now, and down the road maybe there'll be more, maybe there won't be. But that's just kind of how we're gonna go about it. So anyway, yesterday I had this, nothing been going well on the channel. Videos they're good, but they're just not, they're dry. And yesterday I finally had a new subscriber, so I'm up to 48. And I got a new subscriber, and then I had somebody comment on one of my videos, and they were like, "Hey, this is good information. I appreciate it. If you get a chance, go look at this channel." And so YouTube flagged that as spam and threw the guy out. So I couldn't even comment on the video because it was determined to be spam. Now, I went to the channel, and it really wasn't spam. It was another real estate agent, a brokerage out of Arizona, just making videos like I do. Not exactly much. That was a little more local based. I don't really want to do, I'm struggling right now between whether I should do local content or if I should just go national. And I'm more interested in going national because, have you ever been bored by where you live? Like, I've lived here a long time and I'm kind of bored. It's not that exciting. So anyway, what I would say, it's not that exciting, meaning I've seen the city and county for 30 years. And like, even if there's a new restaurant or if there's a new, we're going to have a new soccer team, it's just we had a new football team and the football team's gone, I don't know. It's not new. If I flew to Arizona, I've never been there. I go there and it's new. Everything's new. Okay. But here, everything's, 30 years. It's not new. So, yeah, there's that. The other thing I like about YouTube is everything's based on data. Okay. But how they classify their data and the timeliness of the data, and then interpreting what that data might mean for you, massive dissonance, I would say. I think that's fair. For instance, I had 48 views yesterday. Okay. I have no watch hours. None. From yesterday. Each of my videos is 10 minutes, maybe 8, sometimes more. My live stream's an hour, and yet I have 0 hours watched yesterday and 1 new subscriber. Anyway, we're going to keep going. I think one of the more, how do I explain it? As I've gotten older and failed all the time with everything, you stop worrying about failing, and you just plow through. And so that's what I'm going to do. Not very exciting, I guess. I'm plowing through in a situation where I know that, I know what's going on. I know how these things are happening to me. So yeah. I wanted to go over a concept with you that I saw play itself out yesterday. and I feel like I have some expertise or some thoughts behind it. So I sold a house in a neighborhood here in St. Louis, right around September. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It had been completely remodeled. It was a very nice house. I got $30,000 over asking for it, and I did a good job. No one's going to argue that I did a bad job. Now, somebody else decided in the neighborhood to list with someone else, which happens all the time. No big deal. Came to market a little higher than what I had listed mine for. And house went under contract because, even in the 2s in St. Louis right now, that's not an expensive house, which is sad. But anyway, it went up for sale. So it was, under contract the first day or two. And just yesterday it went out of contract. And being that it's like 3 weeks old, we can kind of ascertain what happened. It didn't appraise. And whether or not there's an appraisal contingency, which is just a document that says if it does not appraise, we have the right to walk with and keep our escrow money, or we can come up with a number that does work out. Either has that or it doesn't have an appraisal contingency, but it's got a contingency on financing. And anyway, I think what happened is that a couple went to buy the house. I say a couple. I don't know. It's a couple. It's a 3-bedroom home. I figured it might be, but someone went to buy the house and it didn't appraise. And rather than lowering the price, they backed out because they couldn't afford it. And that's kind of what I wanted to go over with as far as for agents and for everybody out there. It's that if you have a loan pre-approval, let's say you have and I'll just use small numbers because it's easier for me. Let's say you have a loan pre-approval for $100,000, okay, and the house only appraises for $75,000, okay. You're on the hook for the $25,000 at closing, in addition to your closing costs, or your down payment on the $75,000. So if you're a real estate agent and you're working with clients and you have some level of care, you're demonstrating some level of care for these clients, you just have to be able to do the math to say, okay, if we write an escalation clause, we can only go to this number, because if we go past this number and it doesn't appraise, then we're toast. Now, in this particular instance, it didn't appraise, but I don't know why. The only thing I can think of is some idiot paid like in the 250s for that house. That would be crazy. 1,000 square feet, $250,000 in South St. Louis. Or it's crazy. That's just bad. But I was watching a live stream on the Rittenhouse trial, and there's a group of lawyers, this panel of lawyers, and they're sitting there talking, and they said, one of the fellas has, it's called Pillargate, and he's looking for a lawyer in Chicago, and he's not from Chicago, he's from New York. And it's like, I don't know how I would find a good lawyer. And then another lawyer on the panel said, well, I had read that I had been approached by someone that said that they were going to go and look at all my court cases, and they were going to build a directory, and for a fee, you could be part of the directory. The vetting didn't really take place anything other than they would just do your court cases. And so how does that transfer to the real estate business? Well, I have difficulty recommending other agents in other parts of the country who I've never worked with. I have no idea the local customs. And I know that people in St. Louis have a tough time finding an agent. What is the criteria for a good agent? It's the same thing as what is a good criteria for a lawyer. It is not wins and losses for a lawyer. If you're a public defender and 75 or 80% of the people that you represent are guilty of some crime they're being charged with, your record's going to be horrible. But that, if you got 1 in 100 people off the hook, I'm thinking that'd be pretty good. I think the conviction rate in the United States was like 85% I was looking at. So, I mean, if your record would be absolutely awful, and yet you could still be a great attorney. And then how many attorneys are there? I mean, not how many attorneys are really trial attorneys versus attorneys that do litigation all the time? And then in a trial setting, how many of those are able to beat the average? You're not going to. The statistics aren't going to help you out there. And the same thing with being a real estate agent. Okay, so let's talk about the criteria for a good real estate agent, online at least. Okay, so let's say you're looking at reviews. Okay, so I sell a house and my seller says, "Oh, he did a wonderful job." Okay, in this market, as long as I price a house close to right and I know what the sellers are up to, maybe I've worked with the agents in the past, I'm going to do a pretty good job for any client. But what if I took a house that's terrible and the sellers wanted to try to, they had a strategy where they just wanted to try and sell it for as much as possible, and they came up with a number that was high, and it didn't sell on the first week, and it didn't sell on the first month, even in this market. Am I the worst real estate agent ever? Probably not. Okay. In that case, you're listening to your client. I mean, you can't really, a lot of people say, well, you just tell your client, lower the price. Well, it's not that easy. When we talk about buying the listing, I'm not interested in that. But let's look at the buyer side. How do you know you have a good buyer's agent? Well, so someone was able to get the house that they wanted. Does that make me a good agent? So let's say there was a house and it's $200,000 asking price, and to buy the house we bid $250,000, and we were $20,000 over anybody else's asking price or anybody's offer price. And they got the house, and so they write the review says, "John did the best job ever helping us buy a home. We're so happy." It's like, I guess. So that's why I don't really pay too much attention to statistics, because, at least in this game, now you could say, well, John sold 30 houses last year. Okay. That makes him a good real estate agent. So does volume make you a good real estate agent? I'm just asking. I would have a tough, I know how I run things. I know I have I'm very confident about how I do things, but at the end of the day, how you would define a good agent depends on where you're sitting. So does the agent that has, 30 listings beat the agent that has 10 in a year? That makes them a better agent because they have more business. It certainly would for brokerage. I can tell you right now, my number one agent, my star agent, is my only agent. She wins every year. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's very difficult if you're not in the real estate game to know who you would ask, and then under what circumstance would you want to hire the person. And I know it sounds crazy, but I feel like the best way to find an agent is at least just to talk to some agents and see if you like them. I mean, there's people that you just don't get along with in life, right? Do you really want to go through, like, some people have what's called low emotional IQ, right? Well, this was big in the 90s. I don't know if it's still true, but they were always saying, are you familiar with Jeffrey Immelt, who was the CEO of GE? Anyway, he was after Jack Welch, handpicked successor. You look at Jeffrey Immelt, he will probably be considered someone that wasn't a great CEO because the company kind of blew up after Welch. Now, gosh, the whole environment changed. I mean, shareholders weren't exactly as excited about Immelt as they were about Jack Welch. Anyway, the point being is Immelt always talked about emotional intelligence. And so let's take that with us to the real estate game. So part of the reason why I do the live stream, part of the reason why I do videos is so that people know who I am. People have some sense of who I am before they call. That way, if you hate my presentation, if you hate something that I do, then don't call me. Okay? Because this is pretty similar to who I am every day. This is kind of how I think every day. 100%. So, as I've gone in the business, my goal has always been to know my buyers and know my sellers very, very well, because there are stressful situations that occurred during the listing or purchase process. Let's go over a few of them. So on the buyer side, people will get nervous about a loan pre-approval. They'll get nervous in two different ways. One, they'll get nervous that they won't be able to be pre-approved, okay, for any number. And two, they'll be slighted if their number isn't high enough for them. It's an ego thing. And it's okay. I'm not judging someone on that. But let's just say that they feel like they're wealthy people, okay? Maybe the husband is a business owner, and he has a lot of expenses, and it doesn't show up well on the tax record, okay, on their taxes. So they may think they're going to be able to get $1 million home, okay, and then when their pre-approval comes in for like 800 or 700, they get depressed, okay? Well, as an agent, I have to know that ahead of time, okay, because we have to go over that. We have to say, look, this is not saying that you're only worth 700,000. Okay, you're a millionaire in my heart. Okay, that's the way it is. And then on the buyer side, when someone loses can't get a pre-approval, they are crushed. Okay, not being able to get a pre-approval is not the end of the world. Okay, for the moment, things aren't good. Let's be honest. But to sit there and say, hey, you weren't able to get pre-approved, you're kicked to the curb, I'll talk to you never again, as an agent is terrible, because within 6 months or a year, maybe things change. Okay. But you have to be able to be tied into these people and how kind of wired they are, because you don't want a bad situation, right? You don't want a bad interaction with anybody. So then when you're going through, like, what happens the first time that you lose out on a deal? Well, they found the house of their dreams and they put an offer, and 7 other people, bought it, or had higher offers. What do you do then? What do you do when, how do you work with these people? Some clients will be so angry they won't even talk to you. It's over. They'll find another buyer's agent. Some clients will, be sad for a while, and they'll get their stuff together. It just depends. And so, where is it going to be on Zillow, on Realtor.com, that it says this agent took care of my needs? This agent helped me get a home, and I'm so thankful for it. That's what you need. That's what you need as an agent. And you know, you're not going to see that in the reviews, and you're not going to see that on some sort of statistic, because a lot of times, if you're doing a good job as an agent, your client doesn't even know that you're doing a good job. And you're sure, at least me, I'm not going to sit there and tell them all the things that I'm going to do differently than another agent, because it's not worth it. So, how you would review an agent, when you go through these, like there's I think it's Home Light or something. That's an interesting company in the sense that if I don't pay them up front to advertise, I just give them a cut of the commission when I sell a house or represent a buyer. We talk about how important Google reviews are, but if you go look at my Google reviews, I don't have any, and I don't really want any, because it's rigged. Every single thing you see online is rigged, and I don't want to play the game. Now, does this hurt me? Yes, terribly. If you're 21, 22 years old, okay, got your first job, got enough money for a down payment, okay, all your friends are getting married, all your friends are having kids, you know, you're starting your life, you're going to go on Google, and you're going to look, and you're going to say, oh, I want to go, this guy has, I think I saw, one of the guys on there has like 6,000 transactions, okay? Now, the highest number of transactions in St. Louis for a year for one brokerage might be 150, might be. So he's got 6,000 reviews. You think some of those might be off? But how are you going to know? And you know, you can play into it too. Like say I'm that guy that has all these lists or has all these sales. So I can say, hey, look here. I'm so busy that you'll have to work with my assistant, and they'll run you through. And that's the other thing that's funny on reviews. Let's just go over a little trick. You're a broker. Okay. Every listing you take is in your name. Okay. Anyone that works beneath you is able to take their name off the listing and put it to you. So as the broker, I can have 5 agents doing deals, and it all comes under me, and I look like I sold 5 houses when they all did deals. Okay, you can see how it multiplies. And that's how they're getting these massive reviews. Now, let's say you say, okay, well, I want a real estate agent with these great reviews. Okay. So you pick 3 of the top agents with these great reviews. You know, thousands of reviews, even though we know that you only sell about 150 houses a year. So then what happens? How do you make your judgment on these people? Again, you don't know anything about real estate. You're not in the business. You just want to have a good real estate agent. So you call the first one. The person that is being hyped as the person that's so great never calls you. It's his assistant. And they work the entire deal. Which is kind of weird, right? Because aren't you supposed to be so great with the other fellow that didn't even have time to talk to you? You talk to another company and they don't even bother to call you back because your house is in an area where they don't want to list houses. Your house is too poor for them. Okay. And so then you have the third person that comes out, and they come out and they talk to you and they say, here's the things you might want to fix. Now, that's another trick. It's all these traps in real estate. Okay, so I'm a listing agent. And I go to this house, and what somebody will do, they'll call 3 people and they'll come out, okay, and then they'll say, what do you think I should do with my house? It'd be 2 questions. What should I do with my house, and how much is my house going to sell for? Okay. And I'm going to win or lose the deal based on those 2 questions. Okay. So for me, you just know ahead of time, I'm not going to play the game because I'm not interested in this type of thing. I want to work with people that I like. And I don't like people that are sitting there, you know, comparing me against 2 other people, 3 other people. They don't know who I am, don't know anything that I'm about. And now if I choose the highest number that they can list their house for, Okay, then I get the listing, and if I choose the lowest number that they can list their house for, I don't get the listing. All right. Or this is a great one. So I walk through a house and they say, hey, do you think I should change the flooring? I say, well, you don't have to change the flooring. We just list it for a lower price. Okay. That gets translated to, this stupid agent doesn't like my flooring, and the other agent said my flooring is wonderful, so he's out. This is the level of real estate work that I'm involved in. This is how trivial it becomes. And so, do I trust reviews? No. Do you trust lawyer reviews? No. What if you just get along with the person? What if you just generally like the person that you're dealing with? Is that a enough reason to work with someone? Is that the defining factor? And I'd say yes. 100% of the time. Work with somebody that you like. Are they incompetent? Maybe. Maybe they're terrible. Okay. But you get along. You get along. Which is worse? Getting along with someone and, paying $10,000 more for a house than you should have, or not getting along with somebody and being miserable for the rest of your life that you bought a house with somebody that you hate and then you paid $10,000 more for the house. To me, it's just obvious. Work with somebody that you like. Now, do we have situations where there's promises that are not kept? Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's say I'm representing a buyer and I say, buyers, anytime you want to see a house, you give me a call. I need 2 hours notice because that's what the listing requires, and we'll go see anything you want. Okay. And so I'm doing a live stream right now. Am I going to be able to show a house at 9 o'clock on a weekday? No. But they would have had to call at 7. Office doesn't even open that early. So I don't think I would be around. But there is something to, you call me and say I have to take the kids to gymnastics at night. So I can't show houses on a Monday night. Can't show houses on a Tuesday night because I'm doing this. Can't show houses on a Wednesday night because I'm doing this. All of a sudden, you're working with a buyer's agent that can never show a house. And you know that you can never buy a house if you never see it in person, because one of the rules we should always make up is you go see a house in person. Don't give me this BS about how somebody in Texas can come to St. Louis on a phone and the agent can show the house on the phone and everything's going to be totally okay. Okay. Look at that story out of, I think it was Virginia, where the agent got shot after the guy bought the house unseen. He couldn't believe what he'd actually purchased once he'd seen it in person. That guy got killed. That agent was murdered because of it. So if you think I'm going to play that game. Anyway, you're just not going to know unless you work with an agent you like. I hope I didn't beat that too much to death, but in this society we live in, where it's like, oh well, I'll go on Yelp. Yelp is a fascinating place. So on as a property manager, Yelp would try to have us buy space on their site, and we're property managers. Literally, we have to evict people when they don't pay the rent. Okay, they let renters write reviews. Do you think they're going to write a good review if we've had to go to court to throw them out of the house? No. So there's Yelp. That's all you need to know about Yelp. And then the other thing is Yelp is funny when there's like 12 comments, okay? All right. Well, the worst comment goes to the top unless the people are paying, and then it magically disappears. So that whole company can burn as far as I'm concerned. If somebody ever says I'm not using you because of a Yelp review, good. Don't. I don't want to have anything to do with you. I hate Yelp. The whole idea of it just totally sucks. Just based on property management. Anyway, work with someone you like. Anyway, and stuff about myself. So if someone calls me and starts asking me a bunch of questions, I'm always put on the defensive because I don't understand what the interrogation is about. Okay. So if you're a buyer and you call me and you say, if you start asking me these questions like, what would you ask? Well, are you timely? Well, that's kind of an odd question to get started with, I suppose. How will you open the door at the first showing? Okay. It's a weird thing. You have to kind of get to know somebody first, right? How are you going to know if I'm going to show up how are you going to know if I can write a contract within 15 minutes of when you want to buy a house? And then that's the other thing. I hate to go on about this, but it's kind of a fascinating topic to me. Do you want an agent that kind of shows you everything about the business and how to get through these steps so that you're never surprised? Or do you just want to be like, oh, this is a new day. Every day you wake up and so when it's time to write an offer on a house, do you just want to say, just write up the offer? Like having never seen an offer before, knowing nothing that's in it. Does that good real estating? I don't know. It's just stuff that I see that surprises me. And on the reviews, when have you ever seen a review that just says, "Hey, I like that agent. They were very nice to us the whole time, and we enjoyed the process." That's another thing. How many buyers are enjoying the real estate process right now? The buying process. Of 100 buyers, how many of them are enjoying the process? Let's go over the process. You get up on a Monday, you see a new listing. It doesn't go active until Friday, so you spend 4 days waiting for the listing to go active. You drive by it because, heck, you've got 4 days. You see it, and you're like, that's okay. Maybe we'll go see it. So then you go see it, and then you decide you like the house, and there's 30 other offers, and you lose out. So you're crushed. And there was 2 other houses on the market that week, but you didn't like either one of those. So you go the next week. Same thing. This time you go and drive by a house and it's right next to a gas station, and you're like, I don't want to live here. So that's your whole weekend gone. Now you lost another house. And this happens over and over and over for months. And then when it's time to review the agent, you say, oh, that agent was terrible. The home buying process sucks. How much are we in control of these things? So, that's kind of the way I look at things. Is it the right way? I don't know. It's just how I do it. So, I wanted to go over some articles I have today. I like to read articles because I like to know what people are thinking. It's not always right. It's not where I'm at, but let's just take a look. So here we go. This is from the Realty Times, written by Ashley Sutphin. I don't know who she is. I don't know if she's a contributor. Like, I can write and put something on Realty Times. So let's just go over. It says, how does inflation affect home prices in real estate? So the premise there is that there is inflation, okay? And there's a surge in consumer prices, which matched a 13-year high, largest since 2008, up 5.4%. Significant increases were new cars, gas, food, and restaurant meals. Core inflation is up 0.2%. I don't ever trust the core inflation number in the United States because it doesn't include energy costs, which is ridiculous. Anyway, and it's used to calculate Social Security checks. So they have a vested interest in always keeping the number down. Interest rates have been kept for so long, it's created a bubble for everything and not just the housing market. So there's an open confession that the housing market is in a price bubble. And then it says there's also inflationary on the housing market because of the limited inventory. It stems from a myriad of problems in the industry. I don't disagree with that. Many homeowners aren't putting their houses on the market due to factors like lockdowns, but also the fear they won't be able to find a new one to buy. I don't know that that's true. They normally go looking first and then they list their homes. Construction delays due to supply chain bottleneck. No one's going to say about, they're not going to talk about not in my backyard. They're not going to talk about environmental restrictive zoning, but that's fine. And then it says there's some frustration so that's somehow creating an inventory issue. Okay. And then it says there's other ways inflation can influence how much you pay for a home. Reference to a rise in the price of everyday goods. if it's, basic economics, if the price of things like lumber and appliances go up, the builder will pass those additional costs to the buyer in the form of higher prices. Some politicians have said that's not true recently. Elizabeth Warren has said that that's not true, that they don't pass costs on. In fact, they're just being greedy. So good luck with that. In some cases, it can have oppositional effects on real estate. Inflation rises, money should become more expensive to borrow. Yes, in theory, it has not. People borrow less of it, so there are fewer home purchases, and that can lead to lower economic growth. Right now, that's not happening. Right. So when the central bank increases the money supply into the economy, home prices tend to automatically go up as a result. So that's right. No argument with that. How does inflation? So the question, how does inflation affect home prices in real estate? It makes the prices go higher and you get less. And then it says real estate can protect you against inflation. While it can be negative affected in the form of higher prices, it can protect you from its effects. As prices go up over time, you're lowering your loan to value ratio of your debt. You're simultaneously increasing your equity, but your fixed rate mortgage payments stay the same. If you're a real estate investor, you're not. If you're just buying a regular home, you're screwed. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Finally, in general, home prices also do tend to go up steadily over time. Yeah, I agree with that. The only problem is it goes up, but then when you try to buy something else, you can't buy anything. And then this sentence is sad. It says the homes that hit bottom prices during the real estate bubble burst of 2008 were back to pre-cash prices in less than 10 years in most cases, except Chicago. Chicago got devastated. But still, people don't want to believe that they're going to be stuck in their house for 10 years after they buy it, just because the market is in a bubble. It says the relationship between housing and inflation can go in both directions. If you're a buyer right now, inflation isn't good news. But if you own a home, it can be one of the best ways to protect yourself against rising prices. Bizarre statement. At some point, I'm going to have to sell my home. Okay. And I'm going to get the benefit of higher prices, but my money's worth less. So I don't have an economics degree, but I have studied economics, and inflation happens anyway, and this is just even worse. But the idea that it's good that you're sitting in your house and the price of your sale price of your home goes up, to me, is a bit off, because, like, let's say that so basic economic principle, $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow because of inflation. So if I bought my house and let's say I bought my house and it's $100,000 and a Coke is $1, okay, and then 10 years from now, my house is worth $200,000 and my Coke that I bought at the QT is $2. I didn't get anywhere. This is inflation. So, and then look at it in terms of gasoline. I'm going to date myself, and I know people that can do it even better than me. My dad can do it even better than me. But when I was growing up, gas was 89 cents. Okay, I think yesterday was $3.21 here in St. Louis for the lowest grade, and that's inflation. You can talk about more people are driving cars, bullshit. You can talk about anything you want to. It's inflation, and it's there. So inflation is very, very bad. Inflation will cause more issues than anything else. Any sort of political movement, okay, will be crushed by inflation. Inflation can destroy anything. And so we're going to see if modern monetary policy in the United States will work. My understanding is you have to tax to be able to spend like that, or else you're really in trouble. And so we'll see, because we're not taxing as much as we need to do this monetary policy. But I'm not from the Fed. Okay, I'm not an expert. These people they're lettered. They're the elite. They know all the great schools to send their kids to. They know the best restaurants. They know who works where. So if they ever get thrown out, they can get another job somewhere else. And they will call you on your efforts. If you need something, they will make sure to remind you that they helped you in the past. So I have no use for these people. And anyway, that's where I think about the inflation. So, you bought a house for $100,000, you did nothing to it, it's worth $300,000. Good for you. Good for you. Food is 3 times what it was when you bought the house too, but we're just going to act like that didn't happen. Let's go on to the next article. I saw on TikTok, believe it or not, this same thing yesterday, and I thought it relevant. Here we go. Headline: a record number of U.S. homes are being built just for renters. The overall construction rate of new single-family homes in the United States has slowed in the past few months, but one particular type of construction, single-family homes built not for sale but for rent, is going gangbusters. The construction model called single-family built for rent has been a small but growing part of the residential construction sector for the past decade, and now they're being put up in record numbers. In the third quarter of 2021, construction started on 16,000 single-family homes for rent, more than any other quarter on record. A housing economist who analyzed the data for the National Home Builders Association says while the sector is still less than 5% of the overall single-family construction market, this recent increase is part of a response to a housing market that has put home ownership out of reach for many people. And this is the situation that's bad. This is what's going to cause problems. Okay? We have Wall Street investors buying single-family homes strictly for rentals. And then we have a section of the industry building homes strictly for single-family rentals. Okay? That's not good. Okay? We talk about how there's no inventory. Okay? Well, why is the inventory being crushed? Well, partly because people are buying homes or building homes solely for the purpose of rent. So when they say new supply is going to come online, no, it's not. Not when we're building for rentals. It says house prices across the board have surged more than 20% in the past year. Median price of the home is now $404,700, and median monthly mortgage payment is $1,600. Those new rental homes offer a way to rent the American dream, even as ownership moves further out of reach for more people. Not everyone can afford the down payment or purchase a home, so that opens up opportunities for the rental sector. In our consumer data, we're seeing a growing sense of frustration about the lack of inventory and affordability. But think about this. These new rental homes offer a way to rent the American dream. The American dream is not a rental ever. The idea of the American dream is that you can afford a car. You can afford a house. You can afford to have a family. This is ridiculous. Rent the American dream. Disgusting. Says housing built for the express purpose of renting tend to differ from traditional single-family homes in their design and style. They're slightly smaller with fewer bedrooms than a typical suburban home and closer together on smaller lots of land. Often they're designed as townhouses. The houses are owned and managed either by the builder or sold to institutional investors. Those guys again, Wall Street, like Starwood Capital and Blackstone, which earlier this year added 17,000 homes to its portfolio through the acquisition of another home rental company. It says when the build for rent sector began to take off after the U.S. Great Recession, the basic appeal was to offer people all the benefits of suburban single-family living without the costs and responsibilities of home ownership. Not the American dream. You know what? It's bullshit. I'm sorry to say that, but the idea that you're going to sit there and, oh great, here's my wonderful life. I'm paying rent for this. I'm paying rent for that. I'm paying rent for this. I own nothing. That's the Great Reset. It's exactly what it is. The pandemic only deepened these incentives as city dwellers sought more space and bigger homes that allowed for remote work. Well, now you just talked about how the design was smaller, So why are we doing this? Why are we saying that city dwellers are seeking more space and bigger homes if we're building homes that are smaller on smaller lots? Anyway, It says renting to access the benefits can be a catch-22. If you're unable to afford to buy a single-family home, renting one shuts them out of building equity in the property and thereby wealth, which is the big issue. Okay? We always talk about how real estate goes up every year, and it compounds at about 5% every year. But it will not go up every year when you have Wall Street involved, because they will destroy the margins at some point. So, so we're not going to build equity in our home, so we're going to have nothing. So when you die, you're going to pass your kids your rent check, and it's really a bad deal. Over time, this can impact the wealth building prospects for a generation, as it did in 2007. If you lost your home in that time, you still haven't recovered. But why worry about that? Millennials, the largest generations of Americans, currently has the lowest rate of home ownership at 42% compared to 48% of Gen Xers and 51% of Boomers. Well, some of that is structural, significantly structural age. I mean, are there 25-year-olds making six figures? Sure. Are they all? No. And let's talk about college loan debt while we're at it, eh? Or we're just going to pretend that doesn't exist. Okay. And then it says it's here to stay. Great. When I was in property management in 2007, there was a guy that called me and said, "How do you manage your rentals?" And I talked to him for a little bit, and he says, we're building a development out in the country, and it's great. We don't sell any of the homes. They're just for rent. And then if something goes wrong, they're on 1 acre lots. If something goes on, we always have the air conditioners are the same in every unit. So we always have, supplies on hand, and we fix it. Everything's wonderful. Everybody's happy. I'm not against the idea of rentals. I'm sitting here. We have a terrible situation in the country where buyers can't even afford to buy a home. They're paying way, way overpricing. You want to add more supply to the marketplace. You can't add more supply to the marketplace because 5% or 10% are being single family rentals only. Okay. Which the idea of home ownership is crushed. And, maybe I'm weird, but I don't think a $400,000 home is right for everyone. I do believe in the idea of a starter home. I do believe that you should be able to build equity and not have to pay rent for your entire life. So, I guess that makes me a bad person. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. We should be happy. We should be happy that we're taking the available land and converting it to rental-only properties, therefore driving up the price of single-family homes and constraining the supply in an already ridiculous market. The only thing I can say about the rentals is you're not going to have foreclosures. You're not going to have a single family foreclosure. They're just going to evict the person that's in there when they can't pay their mortgage and move on and get somebody else. So, the idea of renting your home as part of the American dream is disgusting. It just disgusts me. It makes me physically sick. So after that wonderful article, let's look at this. It says, inventory woes aren't slowing down home sales. Well, it says, this is from the National Association of Realtors. Existing home sales fared strongly in October, even as buyers continue to complain there aren't enough homes on the market. There aren't enough homes on the market is true, and the houses that come to market are very, very, very overpriced for the most part. It increased by 0.8% in October compared to September. Compared to a year ago, however, sales are down 5.8%. So this is, let's play with numbers, okay? Sales are down 5.8%, but what is the average price of the home that sold in the same period? I bet it's higher. So there's a relationship. A higher priced home, there will be fewer sales. Oh, look at that. I'm going ahead, but it says the median existing home sale price rose 13% year over year. Okay, that's going to have a chilling factor. But anyway, meanwhile, the inventory of unsold homes fell by 12% in October compared to last year. Okay, so a limited supply of homes for sale remains an ongoing issue for the housing market against continued strong demand against potential home buyers. Lawrence Yun, I don't have any use for him. I've seen him talk, and he's been there for like, God knows, 20 years. Anyway, mortgage rates remain low. Rates are rising. 30-year fixed mortgage was 3.07%, up from 2.9% in September. Look at the key housing indicators. Like I said, the home prices have rose 13.1% a year. Housing inventory was 1.25 million units, down 0.8%. Unsold inventory sits at 2.4 months supply at the current sales price. Our inventory in St. Louis is gone within like maybe 2 days after the market. I mean, it's bad. Days on market, less than a month. Remained on the market 18 days. That's on average. So you've got these people that list their house for too much and it doesn't sell. But I mean, if you're trying to sell your home right now, you're in good shape. It says first-time home buyers comprise 29% of the sales in October, down from 32% a year ago. First-time home buyer is a weird classification. So it depends on how it's set up. So if you're married, say you're single and you buy a house, you're a first-time home buyer. Say you get married, now you're also a first-time home buyer. Say you get divorced, you're also a first-time home buyer. It's 3 first-time home buyers. So I don't really, that's a weird statistic. I don't ever trust it. Investors and second home buyers, individual investors comprise 17% of the total sales, up from 13% and from 14% in October 2020. Investors and second home buyers tend to make up the biggest bulk of all cash sales, which accounted for 24% of transactions in October. Foreclosures and short sales accounted for less than 1% of the sales in October. So then it says, then the Northeast sales dropped. Annual rate of 750,000 units, 13.8% decline. Median price was up 6.4%. Sales increased in the Midwest, 4.2%. 1.5 million in October, a 6.3% decrease compared to a year ago. Median home price, 259,000, up 7.8%. In the South, 2.78 million, 3.5% decrease. Median price, 315,000, a 16.1% increase from a year ago. And in the West, annual rate of 1.31 million, down 5.1%. Median price, 507,000, up 7% from October 2020. So all the numbers are up. Does that make you happy? It doesn't make me happy. I don't know about you. But anyway, we have the last article, and this is your government. Tenants, landlords exasperated as half of New York's $2.4 billion in rent aid held up for 6 months after the launch. Okay, and so we've had the rental moratoriums, we've had all these eviction moratoriums. I'm sorry, we've had all these issues. Government was really excited to get involved with rents and landlords. They really thought that was a great place to be. And so they said, hey, you know what? It's okay. We got Corona. No problem. We'll just pay you your rent and we'll just reimburse you. It's going to work out great. And then so we see nearly $1 billion meant to cover back rent for New Yorkers who suffered economic hardship because of the coronavirus pandemic still hasn't made it into the hands of tenants 6 months after the program launched. That's led to exasperation, especially as the state warned that $2.4 billion set aside for rent relief would likely not cover new applicants and mostly closed applications. So there's more people applying for this than there is enough cash for it. And we're talking about billions of dollars. And we can't even administer the money. We earmark it, and then we don't know how it's going to work out. So it says the holdup is partly linked to missing paperwork. So you don't have your right papers, okay? So, by the way, what do you need to be able to get reimbursed for this, okay? You need a copy of your lease? Well, you should have that, okay? You need a copy of your ID? You should have that. Okay. Your lease, your ID, and that should be it. Should be that simple. Since you promised this program. It says about 82,000 applications for rental aid submitted by tenants through September are still incomplete. You should have your lease, you should have your ID, and that's it. It shouldn't be this difficult. It says about a third of those unfinished and provisionally approved applications date back to June. According to the State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance spokesperson, Anthony Farmer. How about getting rid of spokespeople and getting more workers on the job? This isn't that difficult. One issue that the state is having trouble matching applications submitted by tenants with the landlords who own the property. Some tenants didn't provide contact information for landlords or mistakenly provided phone numbers for property management companies rather than owners, which is an issue because the program is designed to send funds to landlords directly. You've now designed, the government, in all its infinite wisdom, designs a program that doesn't work for the people. Okay? Oh, this money has to go to the owner, not the property management company that runs the place. This is a complete lack of knowledge by people in the business. Okay? Anyone could have told you that there's property management companies. Okay? The government should know that. It's ridiculous. Farmer said the state hopes to someday release payments for 2/3 of the $82,000. You know what? I hope that there's a rainbow over my house tonight. Okay? I hope for $1 million. But hoping and doing are two different things. The remaining farmer didn't provide a timeline of when that could happen. Jennifer Granholm yesterday couldn't tell you how much energy is being used in the United States in oil. And she's head of the transportation department. Or, I'm sorry, she's energy secretary. Anyway, the remaining third of applications are further stuck in limbo because they're either not matched with the landlord or because the landlord hasn't created an account on the online application portal. So it turns out now these tenants that want to get their rental reimbursement don't just have to have a lease, don't just have to have their ID, but now they have to have their landlord go ahead and apply for the same, apply for this. Now you're just going to add layers and layers and layers and layers. And it says, meanwhile, some landlords say they've been having trouble getting needed information from tenants or from the state. So who wants to submit information for this stuff? No one. A Brooklyn landlord said 6 tenants owe her about $50,000 in back rent, and one of them didn't provide her with an application number needed for the state paperwork. Also, now we have to have an application number. Okay. She did get a computer-generated message from the state's assistance agency that included the number, but she said that part of the message was gibberish, and she's been unable to decipher it. Government program and gibberish. I can't link that tenant's application because I don't have the application number, and the OTDA is not able to help. Well, they've got a spokesperson. Ask him. Because of the delays, landlords and tenants are in this predicament, and tenants will be further in debt because the program took so long. You promised the money, and now you're not providing it. Farmer said the state has expanded outreach to landlords based on contact information provided by the tenants and is trying to find new contact information for non-responsive landlords. He said the agency has enough workers to process applications, 1,750 staff, including 1,400 contractors, and 100 state employees reassigned from other agencies. And you still can't get the money out. The president of the Rent Stabilization Association, which represents the residential housing industry, said his group will be working with the administration to track down landlords, including instances where opaque, limited liability companies own buildings. We're not sure why they're not moving the money out as quickly as they should be, he said. Oh, not all delays are due to bureaucratic hurdles. Some landlords don't want to participate in the program because if they do, they are prohibited from evicting the covered tenant for 1 year. The landlord says she doesn't want to keep a squatter who she said damaged her property, failed to pay rent, and caused roach infestation, and banged on the door of her other tenant. Still, Strasburg thinks he thinks it's rare for landlords to outright refuse to accept checks. They want the money. They haven't seen payments for close to 2 years. New York only releases payments once a landlord cooperates and provides contact information. Under the program rules, the state has to try to collect required documents for 180 days before giving up and reallocating the funds. Other states send money directly to the tenant or reject applications more quickly when it is impossible to reach landlords. New York's online-only application portal also faced a string of glitches this summer. At times, the portal erased applications and made it impossible to upload documents. There seems to be a technical problem with the application process that has caused a lot of problems and slowed everything down. The state is addressing technical issues. Look, if you're going to have a program, okay, have everything set up before you start the program, okay? Maybe even do what I do. Fill out the information yourself and see how it goes. Anyway, these issues have not resulted these issues have not resulted in widespread delays of aid being issued to tenants, nor has the agency ever indicated as such. So even though that's an excuse, it's not an excuse. Then they sent out 15,000 notices warning property owners they won't receive payments. They didn't say how many landlords refused to participate. 43% of the 27,300 incomplete applications from June haven't been matched with a landlord. Now the governor's seeking $1 billion more in rental aid. Just makes me sick. Done with that. Just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Billions and billions of dollars. Just, we're here to help. We're from the government. We're here to help. Anyway, that's about all I've had for you today. It's been articles made me mad. I'm sorry. Articles made me mad. I cannot stand reading this stuff. It's just crazy. So anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll have more articles. We'll have more things going on. We'll learn more about real estate as we go. You're going to write stuff in the chat so that we can communicate. I know you're out there. Just write something every once in a while. I'd like it to be led by the chat. You by the way, if you see an article or something you want me to talk about, please send it forward. I'd love to read it. And with that, I'm going to head on out.